All right, today we're tackling one of history's greatest silent witnesses, the Great Sphinx of Giza. I mean, this thing has been guarding the pyramids for thousands of years. But you know what's really fascinating? It's the secrets it's still keeping. So let's get into it. For literally thousands of years, people, from travelers to emperors, have stood right where we're looking now, just completely captivated. And this quote, it just nails that feeling of timeless awe, doesn't it? The Sphinx isn't just some big statue, it's practically a monument to mystery itself. Okay, so let's treat this exactly like what it is, a 4,500-year-old cold case. And the very first clue we have to its importance, well, it's just the sheer unbelievable scale of the thing. So, get this. We're talking about a monument that is 73 meters long. That's 240 feet, from its paws all the way to its tail. But here's the part that just blows my mind. This wasn't built by stacking a bunch of blocks. No way. The entire thing, the lion's body, the human head, all of it, was carved directly out of one single massive piece of limestone bedrock. Just think about that for a second. And that incredible fact makes it the oldest monumental sculpture we know of in all of Egypt. It's just an unbelievable feat of engineering and art. But it also leads us right to our first and maybe our biggest question. So, who actually built this thing? Okay, so who carved the Sphinx? This is the absolute heart of the debate. You'd think for a monument this famous, there'd be some kind of plaque, right? A made by sign? Nope, the Sphinx has zero original inscriptions telling us who built it or why. So Egyptologists have had to become detectives. And believe me, they have a few key suspects. All right, let's look at our lineup of suspects. The most common theory, the one you'll hear most often, points to the pharaoh Khafre. And it makes sense, right? The Sphinx is right there in his pyramid complex. Plus, a much later carving, the Dream Stele, which is basically a big stone slab telling a story, mentions his name. But here's the catch. There is no proof from Khafre's actual lifetime, and that stele, it was carved a full 1,000 years later. So then you have others who argue for Khafre's father, Khufu. They say the style of the headdress is a better fit, and it looks like Khafre's big stone road was actually built around the Sphinx, meaning it was already there. And then there's a newer theory about another son, Djedefre, building it in honor of his father. So what's the bottom line? We've got some really compelling theories, but absolutely no smoking gun. But the mystery doesn't just stop with who built it. The story of the Sphinx is also about being lost to the very desert it watches over, and then found again, over and over. So just look at this timeline. The Sphinx has been in this constant fight with the desert sand. After it was first carved, the sand just slowly started to reclaim it. By 1400 BC, you could only see its head. Then, this young prince, Thutmose IV, supposedly has a dream where the Sphinx promises him he'll become king if he just clears away all the sand. Well, he does it, he becomes pharaoh, and he even builds a little shrine between its paws. Fast forward a few centuries and Roman emperors are clearing it off again, this time as a tourist attraction. And then by the 1800s, it's buried again, and modern archaeologists have to start the whole digging process all over. All right, let's talk about maybe the most famous part of the Sphinx's story, that missing nose. There's a really popular myth about what happened, but let's just say the real story is a bit different. So what really happened to the nose? Let's just get right to it. The story you've probably heard is that Napoleon's troops used it for cannon practice back in 1798. It's a great story, for sure, but it's also completely 100% wrong. And this is where the actual evidence comes in and just blows that myth out of the water. We have detailed drawings from 1737. That's more than 60 years before Napoleon even got there. And guess what? The nose is already gone. So what really happened? Well, if you look closely at the face, you can see tool marks that show it was deliberately pried off. And our best guess for who did it comes from a historian in the 15th century. He wrote that back in 1378, a man vandalized the statue. He was apparently furious that local people were making offerings to it, so he took matters, and a chisel, into his own hands. The missing nose isn't the only source of crazy legends about the Sphinx.
For years, there have been these really tantalizing theories about hidden chambers and secret passages buried somewhere underneath it. So let's separate the facts from the fiction here.
Okay, this really gets to the heart of it. Let's start with what's real. Yes, there are some tunnels and passages. There's a shaft that explorers drilled back in the 1800s, and a passage near the back that might have been an unfinished tomb. But, and this is a big but, they're all dead ends. Now, for the fiction. You've probably heard the one about a hidden hall of records from Atlantis buried under the pause. Well, there is absolutely zero archaeological or geological evidence to support this. None. This whole idea was really made famous by a psychic named Edgar Cayce, who predicted it would be discovered in 1998. Spoiler alert, it wasn't.
And really, that brings us to the most important point of all. After 4,500 years, after centuries of people studying it, the Great Sphinx just holds on to its secrets. We still don't know for sure who built it. We don't even know what the ancient Egyptians called it. And maybe that's the whole point. Its real power isn't in giving us easy answers, but in the incredible questions it still makes us ask.
So in the end, it just stands there, this incredible testament to ancient ambition carved out of a single piece of the earth itself. Which brings me to a final question for you. Think about it. What other monument, ancient or modern, that's also carved from one single piece of stone just blows you away? I'd love to see what you guys think, so drop your answers in the comments below. Thanks for joining me on this one.